So let's get started. All right, he has a stainless steel protector here for the skeg that he put on and screwed it through, but it's open on the top. So if I drain the gear lube, it's going to go all inside here. So to prevent that, we're going to put some masking tape on here, and that should keep the gear lube out. The other thing I like to do is there's a skeg on here, and that skeg is slightly to the starboard, and what I like to do is I like to put a piece of tape right behind that. A little trick I've used for the years have gone by, and that basically you can slip that usually right under the skeg in the middle of it and point it in line like that. So now I know where that base is. So when I put the skeg back on and bolt it on there, the center line is right up with that tape. That way you don't forget where it goes. We're going to pull the lower unit off, so we're going to pull that skeg bolt out. There are 4 bolts, 2 on each side, and then I believe the shift shaft, just like most Mercury's, is splined, and it'll come right out. There's a plastic shroud here on the other side with a little catch for the oil drain. We're going to do that. So we're going to do the water pump first, gear lube, then we're going to put this back on, then we'll start it up, warm it up, change the oil, change the fuel filters, and he'll be ready to go. 16mm 5/8. These, I believe, are probably metric. Just going to loosen these up. I don't know if he's ever put a water pump in this. There's probably a bolt underneath here. That definitely hasn't been out. So it hasn't been off in 10 years, so what I did was pulled this down, got a block of wood in here on one side, and then just pushed up on it to hold this down, and now it comes out. So it looks like now we're down to the bolt, so it'll come off now. All right, so we've got the 4 bolts for the water pump, and I looked this up, and there is 2 vent plugs on the top of the gear case. This kind of reminds me of an old OMC job, but there are the 2 vent plugs, one on the left, one on the right. The vent is in between the 2 drain plugs, so that's all you're gonna see. So I've taken the 2 vent plugs out, the drain, I'm draining the gear lube while I'm doing the water pump. I already noticed something here. I'm not sure what this is all about, but it looks like a piece of burnt plastic on the drive shaft. And this is another fine spline drive shaft on these 2. So I'm not sure what that's all about, but maybe part of the water pump. I don't know if there's supposed to be some kind of a slinger here or anything, but we're going to look in the workshop manual. I've got it open in the PDF, and you'll see what it looks like. I didn't see anything pretty free looking through it. And once I get these loose, I'll spin these out, because they thread in there a ways. Okay. This piece also was up inside the midsection, you need to put that back on here so that when you, it goes like this, so when you put the lower unit on, you can catch that tube here and put some grease on there. So we'll look at that too. Okay, there's your key. The impeller's been back and forth twisted, it looks like. I don't know why, but it's got some wear to it, but it's an original impeller. And the housing, yeah, I can feel a score in that, so I would definitely want to change that housing. That housing has a deep score in it just from the impeller, from riding on it. And then this gasket comes out, and I think that gasket is the only thing. There is a plate here. I'm going to look in the kit, make sure that plate is the same. Yep, that looks like that fits. I don't know if there's another gasket underneath this. I don't recall there should be under that plate. And if this plate is scored, oh, there's the plastic. It looks like there's a plastic washer there too. So here's the other plastic washer on here. And the other one should have been on the impeller. Looks like it came right through. Another reason I take this all the way apart, I can grease these bolts too, and you can see they're corroded. So I'm going to put those off to the side because they're going to be a little different. Right. And there's the plate with the original gasket. Okay, this is a vent hole, and you want to make sure that vent hole lines up with the drain here. Don't put it on the wrong way. So it's a good idea to keep this as a reminder. Where does that vent hole go? So if you line these two up, you will see the vent hole is on this side of center. If you try to flip it over, it's in the wrong spot, and it might be covered up. Let's look. Yup, it is. So we don't want to do that because that will let water be trapped in here and it can freeze in the water pump. So this is solely just to let the water drain out in winterization. So make sure you do that. Grease. Where's my grease? Should grease here. So grease. And it does say in the book to grease the underside of the gasket. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grease this whole top area to keep the corrosion down, and then the gasket will seal that off. All right, so we got some grease on the bottom. We're going to put this back on here as such. Remember the vent. Then we're going to put the wear plate down again of the vent to that side. Alright, so we've got this plastic piece to put on. I'm going to pull the key out of the way. That's got to go on first. And then the key. And then the new impeller is going to go down over the key. That faces aft like that. Then I'm going to put the impeller and the plastic piece back on here. Hold the key. Slide it back down. Take the housing. Right, push the housing down and rotate the drive shaft clockwise. Once you do that, you can pick it up and turn that gasket with the cover carefully until everything lines up. Okay. And you have to finagle it a little bit to get the gasket to get into the right position, but you can do that with one of the screws. So put the screw in and turn it. That one's lined up pretty well. That one's lined up well. Okay. All right, so we're going to grease these bolts up real well so they come apart again. Okay, spin them down. Turn on that drive shaft again. Okay, and we need our torque wrench to tighten it. Again, turn that again. Done with the old parts. Done with the impeller. I got my rags in a bucket. Favorite thing to wipe my hands off while I'm out here. I've got an outdoor sink, but this just makes it really easy for me to get my hands clean. And these things are the greatest things. Inch bands. All right, so there's 4. 2 more bolts. I got to put the 2 in the front. I'm going to grease them up real well too, so they'll come out, and there is a sequence to torque this down. All right, so I'm going to 40 first time, so it's 60 inch-pounds of specification. There's 40, there's 40, there's 40, and there's 40. Then you do the front too. And then I'm going to go to 60. 60. 60. And that is that. All right, I'm ready to fill it up with gear lube, and then we're going to reinstall it. I've got this last piece here. Which is this new guide, a little different than the old one. That's going to fit over here. Right, so we're going to put just a little bit, or not much on here, but just enough so this will stay on there. There we go, and I'll put a little bit of grease in here to aid that guide tube in. That's going to be for the water pickup. Okay. I'll grease the splines up while I'm here. Alright, so we've filled it up to the first vent plug. This bolt. I'm going to put that one in. Not drop it if we're lucky. There we go. Right, and then we're going to fill it up until we get the other vent plug, which is the forward one. So the left one is first, and then the second one is the one forward of that. And that's for the shift shaft. So this is a new routine where you have to fill up. Obviously there's a cavity in the shift shaft area too that needs gear lube. And then we'll put that drain plug in. And last but not least, the lower unit drain plug. We'll take and fill that one up. That's next. That one in there real quick. That'll be good. Okay, and then I'm going to torque those with a flathead bit that I have, and that is to, as the book says, what was it, 48? Yeah, it's at the end. 58. All right, so the fill and vent plugs, all three, are 58 inch-pounds. So I'm going to get my flathead bit and torque those. And we're ready to put it back on. All right, the last one over here, I got a torque to 58 inch-pounds. I had to straighten my little tool out just a little bit so it'll fit in there nice, but there we go, all three of them. So, I've had this maybe 40 years. I don't even know where I got it, but it's perfect for drain plugs when you want to torque them. I used to use it to take them out, but I have that wonderful snap-on screwdriver now to take them out, and that's that special one here that they specifically made for marine drain plugs. I think that's that SGD155C. Has a wrench holder on it too for a wrench. So, but all right, we're ready to put it back on. All right, we're getting ready to put this back on. I got my starter button hooked up so I can crank the engine when I line the drive shaft splines up. Shifter's in neutral, drive's going to be in neutral. So I'm just going to take some of this very limited quantity of 101 super special lube that I've had for decades. Alright, so the workshop manual says shift the drive in forward, which I have. It'll ratchet clockwise, but it'll lock going clockwise, counterclockwise. And then I shifted the shifter in forward. So let's try this. And I gotta make sure that water pump tube lines up. Looks like that's about right. And then it says to turn the prop counterclockwise. And it lines up. Try to push that ever so slightly further forward. And that's it. That's all it took. So you got to push the shift crank forward just a little bit, and it goes right in. Unbelievable. Yeah, that's definitely. Oh, yep. Okay, we'll try shifting it now. That should be neutral. Yep. Okay, so we can tighten the bolts up, it looks like. And that's that rubber ring that's holding it, and that's that water pump tube. It's got to go in that rubber grommet. Okay, we're going to torque these bolts to 40 foot-pounds. Same thing with this stud once that shows up inside here with a nut and the washer. That gets torqued to 40 as well, it says. I don't know about the zinc bolt, I have to look that up. Okay, last but not least, we've got these bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, the other side. The bolt underneath here, when the anode's out, that's 40 foot-pounds. The last one is the anode bolt, because it goes through this aluminum anode, is 22 foot-pounds. And I get it set on 22. But 22.8 and 0.8 foot-pounds over, oh no. Right, so that's it. Lower units installed. I even lined up the edge of the trim tab again with my piece of tape before I torque that bolt. Oh, yeah, baby. Isn't that fun to get at those fuckers? That's why I should have left that cow in. Yeah, I don't think I can get it off now. I think I'm fucked. Well, it don't matter. You gotta get this off. And that fucking thing doesn't come apart. Yeah, that's some serious bullshit to get to this spark plugs, but we're gonna do it. That's a funky peanut ball there. fucking tiny, man. Yeah, I would say it's that one. That one's gonna be a real motherfucker to get at, isn't it? Fuck no. These are definitely not designed to come. Well, they're not fucking iridium plugs or anything. Just regular plugs. Huh. Champion plugs. What the fuck? Why are there champion plugs? Champion. R-A-8-H-C. Champion plugs. So he got something different. What the fuck? Alright. R-A-H-C. Okay. Alright, I got the lower spark plug in. You can use a piece of rubber hose over the very end of the electrode, or if you got an old coil wire or something like this, that works too. I like this so I can actually see the spark plug. This covers it up more. So I got it in there, and the next thing I said was, how am I going to torque it? And what I'm going to use, I'm going to use this flexible snap-on 5/8 socket, and it's actually a spark plug socket I've had for over 30 years, and I only use it for these kind of weird occasions. So it's flexible. It's not a regular, you know, angle swivel. It's a ball swivel. And then the next part I put on the end of it is I put a 15-degree wobble extension. So that really gives me a lot of flexibility when I'm trying to get in here to torque these spark plugs. And without this, you're probably going to break the spark plug. So we're going to slide this on here. All right, make sure it's all the way buried. And then I've got to put my torque wrench to 150 inch-pounds. Okay, there's 150 inch-pounds. So we're going to torque this and hopefully not break the spark plug. And this usually works like a champ. Just gotta hold it straight, keep pressure on it. And that ball type extension works great. Okay, we're coming up now. Compressing that sleeve. We're up to almost 100 inch-pounds. Here we go. 128, 150. So, hit it on the money. Got all that together. 151 inch-pounds. Life is beautiful. Now I've got to put the wire back on, and another little trick I've got is I bought these fuse holders, and these are fuse grabbers, and these are from probably 30 or 40 years ago. This is a Gem Elect manufacturer tool, and it's the pocket size. And it has some numbers on it, 0 to 30 amps, and then 31 to 200 amp fuses. So it's designed to reach in, grab the fuse, and pull it out of an old fuse holder. But I'll tell you, when you're trying to put these spark plug wires back on, this tool is great. It's really nice to grab them, and you can slip it in there and put them on. I didn't think it'd get any better. I mean, I got that bottom spark plug in and out like a breeze, no problem. And then I said, oh, I got to get the middle spark plug out, and go guess what's in the way? Directly in the way is the whole coil tower. So I got to take the coil out and unbolt it. So now I got to look that torque spec up too. So there we go. In with the new. That's one. The bottom one's already done. There we go. All done. Put the coil in, put the wires back on. It's going to be easier to get that lower wire on with this coil out of the way too. So it will be a lot easier to get that lower spark plug wire on with this middle coil out of the way, that's for sure. So kind of makes you do that, and then you've got to have the special tools to actually get in here, the special sockets and stuff to get these spark plugs out. So onward quest. Alright, put some grease in the bolt, put the bolts back in for this second coil. Alright, 30 inch-pounds, here we go. There's one, there's two. Yeah, they're around 30. Okay, all I gotta do is put some wire clips back in position. These are all done, and the other thing is the fuel filter on the other side, and we're done with this project. I gotta change the oil on the filter, that's right. That I still gotta do. Alright, we're changing this filter. Let's take that and wiggle on it. Come right down. The other one. Push that up in there. Lubricant on there. Make sure that's square. Turn it backwards and then turn it back up there till it's just snug. And that's it. And then make sure the grommet is pushed back in. There's your fuel filter change. Takes, I think, 1 3/16 socket if you can't get it off.